I really wish I had my microphone with me. I don't, so just hear me out. Um, you need to figure out what you want out of life. Like you know how like when we was kids, there was like, what career do you want? Like, who do you like? What do you want to do when you get older? This whole thing, like, I wish we would transition these ideas into who do you want to be when you get older, not what do you want to do. Like fuck what like that too, but like what who do you want to be? Like become someone that you're proud of is what I'm trying to say, right? Like we focus so much on what career we want, what house we want, what car we want, but we don't focus enough on who is driving the car. Like obviously it's going to be you. Like who is in the house? Obviously it's going to be you. But who are you? Right? Like what type of person are you? What type of person is going to be driving that car? What type of person is going to be sleeping in that house? What type of person are you going to become? Because as kids, when we're like, oh, I want a big house, I want this, I want that, people get like so attached to that that then they lose themselves because as children we are ourselves, we are just self. Then the ego gets created, then all these things get created, and then it's like we are the only thing we hold on to is our the things we wanted. But the child that came up with the idea to say I want that house, I want that car, the child, that soul, that pure soul that you were when you were a child, most likely will never get to sit in that house or drive that car or whatever, because a lot of times people will kill off that self to get the thing they want and their ego kind of takes over, right? Because I look at it, right, where there's like consciousness and the ego. And because of this yin and yang balance within the self, so many people get unbalanced because the ego is this thing that's like, I want this, I want that, I want to feel good, I want to whatever, but like the soul wants different things because what the soul wants will feel good in the end because the soul gets to look at itself like, wow, fuck yeah. But what the ego wants feels good right now. But what the soul wants, it might not feel good to get what the soul wants. It didn't feel good to get in shape. It didn't feel good to heal my mind. It didn't feel good to heal my mental health. It didn't feel good to end up single and alone. But that was good for me. People get confused with like, what your soul wants is good for you. What your ego wants just feels good, right? So this is why I always say it's not about the feelings. Like fuck the feelings. Like if you feel good, if you don't, like don't be attached to that. Like people get so attached to they want to be happy. They want these things, but they're not looking within themselves because the main focus for me for the past 10 years has been a spiritual purpose. I've lived the past 10 years with insane purpose, right? Like, I wake up with purpose. I'm working on things with purpose because I know what I want out of life. Not what career I want or what car or house I want or not like it's that same shit where people be like they want a relationship, but it's like as a man, like it's not that you shouldn't want a relationship. It's that as a man, if you work on yourself, you'll get a relationship whether you were looking for it or not. Like the better you become as a man, the easier it is to get women. So therefore, if you just work on the self, like then it'll be easier to get the things you're trying to get. If you become like instead of the child being so attached to getting a certain car, so like they're like, oh, I want that car. Instead of focusing on the car, focus on becoming the type of man that drives those cars, right? Like, what type of man are you? What type of person are you? we get so attached to what career do you have, what job do you have, whatever. But like, we could have the same job, but be two completely different men. Are you a man of honor? Are you a man that keeps his word? Are you a man that keeps the promises you make to yourself? Are you like there for your family, like actually there for the family? Or are you just providing money for the family, right? Because there's a difference. And it's no disrespect to people, it's just people forget that there's a difference between paying for the family and actually being there with the family, like being present with the people that you love. And like, I don't know, bro. Like, I was just thinking about this shit because I was like, people would look at me like a fucking failure, right? On paper, I look like a fucking failure. And on paper, there's successful people that look like a success. But just because they got the house, the car, the this, the that, the money, the whatever, that makes them a success? Like, even if they had to lose their self to gain those things, even if they had to basically, because you know that term sell your soul, I think we misunderstand it because we get attached to the shit we see in the movies and the shit that religion has told us about the devil and all this other shit. But like, what I really think selling your soul means is when you sold your soul for your dreams, because in the beginning you are just soul, and then when you hit puberty it's like the ego is born, and then it's soul and ego. But most people give up their soul and then they use their ego to chase their dreams, and they get all their dreams and everything they've ever wanted and all this shit, but then they sold their soul for it. They gave up that pure energy inside of them just to get material things. When some people can do the exact opposite. Like for me, I did the exact opposite of that. I gave up my ego's desires. Like, well, in the end, I was forced to give up my ego's desires, right? When I ended up single and I was like alone, I was forced to be with the self and be alone. And then I was like, okay, I've been paying too much attention to my ego. I've been feeding my ego all this shit, right? It was like, oh, I was in this relationship, I was in love, I was having some wild sex, I was doing all this, like, whatever. And it's like, when I was alone, I realized I just need to focus on me, like the real me, my soul. So then I started rebuilding the connection with my soul, rebuilding the connection with myself. Of like, I've already been on this spiritual journey for 10 years, but in the 10 years, it's like I was on the journey, then I started going the wrong way, then I went back the right way, then I started going the wrong way, then I went back the right way. And that could be just normal, right? That could just be while I'm thinking I'm going off of the path. It could be that is the path, because if I didn't go off the path, there would be lessons that I would never have learned. But all I know is, like, I started focusing severely on just healing every aspect of me, like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And now I'm sitting here like you could go back to work on whatever, right? Like, I worked on my soul, my consciousness, building my personality, building who I am, the connection with source, the connection with self, the all these things I've worked on within my own mind, healing my mental health issues, like looking in the mirror with myself. That's great. I did all that work. But now there's physical things that I could work on. There's like the people that got the house, that got the car, that got the this. Now I can work on trying to get those things because now I'm me. So, like, my worry with myself was, if I went to work on getting my money right and getting the car and getting the this, if I worked on that first, I would have never became who I am today. So I knew this within myself. And this is what I mean by, as a child, we're told, like, what career do you want? What, who do you want to be? Like, what do you want to do when you get older? But this is why I say we should focus on who do you want to be when you get older. Because 10 years ago, like probably 11 years ago, but I started listening to Terrence McKenna before I got into using psychedelics. And I would listen to Terrence McKenna for 5 hours a day, bro. Like, for like 2 years straight. And, but listening to Terrence McKenna for 5 hours a day for 2 years straight, I'm like, that's the type of man I want to be, right? Like, at that point in my life, I was like, well, it clicked. What type of person do I want to be? I'm like, well, that type of person, right? Like, Terrence McKenna. That's why I then started working on, I don't know, just the words within my own head. At that time, I was saying the N word all the time and nigga this and nigga that and like whatever. So I'm like, okay, let me remove that one word out of my vocabulary. Then I started working on other things. And slowly but surely, 10 years later, I became a man like Terrence McKenna. Not that I'm not trying to be Terrence McKenna. I just understand that there are archetypes in the world. There are whatever, like some people like the gangster archetype, so they become a thug type dude. That's what happened to me first. Like some people, I don't know, like the businessman thing, so then they become a businessman. And then that's the type of man that they are. Like I was like, yo, bro, I want to be like a modern day philosopher. I want to be a psychedelic explorer. I want to become a modern day shaman. I want to, like, that's what I was like, that's who I want to be. That's what I want to do. That's the type of man that I want to be. But as I was nowhere near that, I just focused on the individual steps and worked on the thing one at a time. Did meditation for 6 years. Then first I did breath work. Then I did meditation, like psychedelic exploration, all these different breath work and focus practices and all these different things that I started slowly applying to the way I live life. And like it was a slow process for it to actually happen, but it would have never happened if I didn't have any clue on the type of person I wanted to become. How the fuck could I have became this if I didn't intentionally want to become this? You will never become the best version of yourself unless you intentionally want to. Like you have to move with intention, move with purpose. Because if you don't move in life with purpose, you end up letting life move you instead of you moving life. Instead of you saying, I want to go that way, the world will push you that way. And, this is why I stress becoming conscious, living with intention, living with purpose, making decisions on who you want to be and go for it, making decisions on what type of life do you want, right? Like, I don't care how many people say I'm crazy, say I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. I don't give a fuck if I become homeless, bro. Like, I'm gonna do what the fuck I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. Because I could feel it within my own soul. Because I'm listening to my soul instead of listening to my ego. Like, I know what the fuck my ego wants. It already had that shit, right? So now my ego is gonna have to wait until the end. And if I don't get a chance to give my ego what it wants, too fucking bad for the ego. But I'm gonna try my hardest to give my soul what it wants. So like I'm already a little more than halfway there. I became the person that I imagined. Like, I think the way that I thought I wanted to. The way I think now, I thought this shit was a dream, bro. It was a dream to be who I am today. Now, it's a dream to have what I want, like the things I want in the future. Now, that's a dream. But I accomplished the dream. I am the person that I intended and set out to become. So now it's like, now that I am this person, now I'm like, hey, maybe I can go out and get some things now. Maybe I can go out and work on my life now because I took all the time to work on the self. So if you are someone who got the house, got the car, got the this, got the that, rich as fuck, business, whatever, but you're a horrible person. Like, if you're not the person you want to be, you're not as confident as you want to be, you're not as loving or as caring or as mentally strong, or maybe you have mental health issues that you never worked on. Like, now it's time to work on those, right? Like, if you already have the house, the car, the this, the that, then what the fuck are you doing wasting your time not working on your mind? If you already got the house, the car, the money, the this, the that, then you should be able to separate half the time. So if you're putting all your time into the business shit you're doing, you need to stop. And you need to cut that shit in half. Half of your life needs to go to the business and shit and all that shit you've been doing. The other half needs to go on working on yourself, the soul, the consciousness, who you are as a person, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your emotional health. Like, because if you already got the financial health down, and that's the thing though, people think they have nothing else to work on. Because as children, we're asked, what career do you want? Who do you want to be when you get older? And we think we're just humans. Like, we think we're just fucking humans that work jobs, pay bills, this and that, get houses, cars, fuck bitches, and it's like, no, we're souls, bro. And you're a soul that's in a human body. And while you're giving the human body everything it's ever wanted, you're forgetting that your soul came here for a purpose. So start living with purpose.